If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief? Hey there, Mischief Makers. I hope you're having a great time listening to my conversation with Dr. Noah St. John. I know I'm having a blast chatting with him. I can't believe I get to chat with incredible people like him. So here's what I need you to do. Whichever of these two things I'm going to offer you next actually helps you get rid of the head trash that you might have about money and that's keeping you stuck there. And whichever of these two things I'm going to offer you actually starts you on the journey to a 7-figure breakthrough that you've always wanted, then please take one of them and dive in. So Dr. Noah has 2 free things for you to help start you on that journey. The first thing is a free book, basically get rid of your head trash around money. I mean, how much simpler can you be? And also a 3-day intensive event, which is a 7-figure mastermind event. Either of those things, you can find links to them so that they lead you to that breakthrough you want. And if you just go to callmemkj.com/Dr. Noah, you can get links directly to both of those free tools for you to use. That's callmemkj.com/DRNOAH. Do it now. Okay, welcome back to the conversation, Mischief Makers. We're all making a bunch of mischief today because I can't wait to find out how Dr. Noah St. John is actually innovating this whole self-help space. So, Noah, first off, welcome back to the conversation. Thank you again. Now, you talked a lot in the last episode about this whole self-help idea and how many of these gurus are just leading us to, I love your analogy of putting our foot on the gas and just putting our foot more on the gas and not dealing with the behaviors that are holding us back. So what are you doing? How are you adding your personality, your previous experience, your stories to this whole space so that you are completely innovating it and turning it on its head? How are you doing that?
All my entire career, this past quarter century, has been about innovation. Again, I didn't know I was doing it. I did it because I was so frustrated, because I'd been reading all these books. I was a self-help junkie, like I talked about in our earlier interview. I was a self-help junkie, reading every book. I mean, I just devoured it. And I'm like, they all say the same thing. Set your goals and think positive, and you need to check up from the neck up. And I'm going, okay, I got it. Why am I not successful? Why am I still stuck? And so it was, for me, those 2 epiphanies that I talked about, discovering Al formations, discovering success anorexia. So I did this out of frustration, out of what the heck is going on around here? And how come I'm working so hard for nothing? Not getting ahead. And I think for somebody who is working hard, for the entrepreneurs, for the people working hard out there, I think there's nothing worse than seeing someone dumber than you who's way more successful than you. That's like the worst, and you're like, how are all these idiots making more money than me? That's just so aggravating, and I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I mean, I think one of the answers is, what I've been teaching for a long time, which is that, the irony is the dumber you are, you kind of have an advantage. If you remember the movie Bull Durham, and I'm really dating myself here, back in the 80s, but, there's a line in that movie, if you remember, for those of you too young, just Google it. But it's, the world is made for people not cursed with self-awareness. And I think that's really true. It's sad, but true, is that, for those of us who are cursed, if you want to use that word, with self-awareness, it's like, and another term that I use is the American Idol syndrome. If you remember that show, American Idol, which is still on, but, a shadow of what it was. But if you ever watched the old versions of the show, I don't know that it happens much anymore, but in the old versions, the people who were the most talented were the least confident. I always remember Clay Aiken as the example of this. If you remember, again, I'm really dating myself, but Clay Aiken was this, this skinny little awkward guy. And then he gets in his voice like, what?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, it's like, oh, I don't think I'm very good. And then you get these idiots who can't sing, can't hold a tune with a handle on it. And they're like, I'm the greatest thing in the world. And you're like, really? And I mean, of course that still goes on, and that's just the way it is. And there's no way, well, I shouldn't say there's no way around. I mean, I help people with that type of thing, helping them with self-confidence. But, again, the point about innovation, I mean, I had to innovate because I was so frustrated with the self-help industry itself. And I mean, I'll give you another example. I mean, we've seen this a million times that, you go to these seminars and you walk on hot coals, right? And you're like, yeah, so you can do it, whatever you set your mind to, you can do it. And I get it. I get it. That's okay. That's cool. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. I can, oh, look, there's this thing, I thought I couldn't do it and I did it. Okay, great. But then here's my argument. It's like, okay, you go back to your office on Monday and you're like, now what am I supposed to do?
Coals.
Right. I mean, am I supposed to put hot coals down on my carpet every day? I mean,
yeah, right.
ruin my carpet pretty fast. Hello, what do I do? Right. And so that,
yeah.
I mean, it's not that it's wrong or bad. It's just, it's not good enough. It's missing. It's missing. I call it a system-driven approach to success versus a personality-driven approach.
That's it. This is it just hit me as to the key that you're talking about. You're not, just like you said last time, you're not helping people just push more on the gas, but you're actually helping them with self-awareness, with some of the processes that you do. You're helping them understand what actually is holding them back from getting the results of stepping on that gas. Because we can all do the same thing. We can all go out and we can build a funnel and we can offer a product and create a course. And I know about this thing, so let me just go ahead and offer it to everybody and they'll pay me $9.97 and I'll be a millionaire.
Right.
But there are things, we can all set up those systems and do all those things. But just like with American Idol or any of these other, the British version,
shows.
all those things. Yeah. You realize that even though we have this incredible gift inside of us, every single one of us does, but the reason we feel we're not good enough, or we aren't as good as that person over there, or no, people shouldn't really hear what we have to say. It's not, who's going to listen? All those negative questions, just like you talked about in the first episode.
Right.
It sounds like you have innovated this by not just helping people push on the gas, but also let off the brake. Give yourself a break. Stop putting yourself down so much. And you give people tools to do that.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's exactly right. I'll give you another perfect example. You talked about funnels, right? We all know about ClickFunnels, and Russell Brunson is a dear friend of mine. And, everybody has heard this, that I'll just use a number, whether it's accurate or not, is let's say there's 250,000 people in ClickFunnels. That's about right. It might be 350, might be 150, whatever the number is. So let's call it 250. There's 250,000 people in ClickFunnels. And he's on record of saying this, Russell, so I'm not speaking out of school here. Less than 10% of all of those 250,000 people have even built one funnel.
Yeah.
Hello. Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense until you look at it from what I'm teaching and what I've been teaching for the last 25 years, which is, hello, you got your foot on the brake. So it doesn't matter how much marketing they shove down your throat. You have all this head trash that says, I can't do it because. So that is where I come in and where I innovate. And yes, that's one of the reasons people hire me, because they're like, I don't think anybody, who's going to listen to me, or I can't do it because, or whatever the excuse is. And going back to my point that I just made, that's why dumb people have an easier time, because they're like, oh, it's no fun. Who cares? Yeah. And they're like, wait, what? They just did it. Exactly. Because they weren't so-called smart enough to not do it. I know that's like twisted logic, isn't it? But
I love that. I love that. That's exactly, you hit it right there. So, all right, mischief makers listening, please rewind what Noah just said, because that's exactly it. They are not smart enough to deal with the crap in their head, because the crap isn't there, because they don't have it as a barrier. They just go, yeah, I can do it. Yep. I'm dumb enough to just think I can do it. Come on, let's just all, I think that's what we need to do. Let's just all get dumb enough to just think we can do it and get rid of all that crap that's telling us we can't.
Exactly. That's
Look
right.
at it that way. I'm going to completely embrace that. I'm going to say I am going to get dumber and less self-aware. Hello, if that's going to make
I know.
me
Is that
better
the
and
message? I don't know what to
we're
say, but
done.
I mean, wow.
That's it. I mean, it really is that.
It's kind of it. Yeah, it's kind of it.
It really does. And I think if we
Funny.
could get serious for a second, I agree with you 100%. If we could just take that veil off,
Yes.
stop. And it's easy to say, just like you said before, just
Right.
if you have success anorexia, just make
Right.
money.
Right.
Simple.
Right.
Yeah. Duh. Right.
Right.
If we
Right.
could just take the veil off, though, and actually
Yes.
look at the things that are stopping us and actually focus on that. And we can't just say, I can stop saying I'm not good enough. We have to
Right.
find proof. I look for in my life proof. Well, hey, I was able to do this over here.
That's right.
So come on. Of course I can do this over here.
That's right.
It's really as simple as that. But we have to start making it so complicated. It really isn't that complicated. There is nothing you can do in this life that hasn't been done by another human. So get out of your own flipping way and do it.
Exactly. Highly successful people, the people we're talking about, are doing things unconsciously that they, number one, aren't aware of, and therefore, number two, cannot teach. So let me break it down further. Whenever we humans want to master a habit, we go through 4 stages. The first stage is unconscious incompetence. That means you don't know, you don't know. The second stage is conscious incompetence. That means you know, you don't know. The third stage is conscious competence, which is you know, you know. And then the final stage is unconscious competences, which is you do without thinking. All right. So the example I always give in my seminars or keynote speeches is driving a car, right? I talk about driving a car a lot, and it's a great analogy because we all went through those 4 stages. We didn't know how to drive a car. Nobody comes out of the womb and says, hey, where's my car? Right. It's like, no, you don't even know, you don't know. Right. And then the second stage is you get to a certain age, and you're like, wait a minute, I want to drive a car because all I have is a bicycle and I can't get far enough away from my parents. I want to get away from them. Oh man, I got to drive a car. How do you do that? Oh shoot, I don't know how. So now I know I don't know. Then the third stage is you take driver's ed, you learn how to drive. And finally, of course, today, for most folks listening to this program, you know how to drive a car and you're unconscious. You don't think about it. You do not think, you're literally doing 27 other things at once, right? Yeah. So it's that way. What's ironic is, well, we've all done that in many, many, many things, habits, tasks in our normal waking lives. But what's funny is, and again, I'm the first person to really look at it in this way and break it down in a systematic approach, is that highly successful people are doing things unconsciously that they're not aware of. That is another reason why so many people go to all these gurus, and they're not saying anything wrong. They're not saying anything bad necessarily, but they just leave out all the good stuff. Going back to my point of system-driven versus personality-driven. If you're just pushing with your personality, there's definitely going to be a ceiling on your success. So when you put these systems in place, that's why we call it the power habit system. It's a systematic approach. And that's why, we have the results that we get for our clients.
Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit CEOmischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.